All right, picture this, you're carrying a backpack. But instead of books or gym clothes, it's stuffed with every painful memory, every regret, every moment someone hurt you. You've been lugging it around for years, maybe even decades. And you don't even realize how heavy it is because you've gotten used to it. Because here's the truth, healing doesn't happen by accident. It's a decision. A messy, uncomfortable, but absolutely life-changing decision to stop letting the past control your future. It's time to let go of the emotional wounds that have been holding you back. Not because they don't matter, but because you matter. Imagine walking through life with an invisible weight strapped to your back, one that you may not even consciously recognize most of the time, yet it influences everything you do, from the way you react to situations to the way you perceive yourself and others. This weight, built up over time, is made of past experiences that left a mark, emotional wounds that were never fully healed, and painful memories that still have the power to trigger feelings of sadness, anger, or even fear when something reminds you of them unexpectedly. Many people go through life without ever truly acknowledging the sheer impact of this burden, convinced that they have moved on simply because time has passed. However, the reality is that time alone does not heal emotional wounds, and ignoring them does not make them disappear. For years, you might have convinced yourself that what happened to you in the past is irrelevant now, that it no longer affects you because you've grown, changed, and adapted, yet deep down, certain patterns in your thoughts, behaviors, and emotional reactions suggest otherwise. Perhaps you find yourself overreacting to small conflicts, shutting down emotionally when things get difficult, or avoiding situations that remind you of past pain, all of which are signs that the past still holds a level of control over your present. The truth is, until you consciously acknowledge the weight of your past and recognize the ways in which it shapes your reality, you remain trapped in a cycle where old wounds continue to dictate your emotions, decisions, and relationships even when you believe you have outgrown them. Acknowledging the weight of your past does not mean dwelling on every painful memory or reopening wounds just for the sake of remembering. Rather, it is about bringing awareness to the fact that what you have experienced, whether it was betrayal, rejection, loss, or any other form of emotional pain, has had a lasting effect on you. It means taking an honest look at the patterns in your life, why you react the way you do, why certain situations trigger intense emotions, why you struggle to trust or let go, and connecting them back to the experiences that first created those wounds. This process is not about blame or self-pity, nor is it about making excuses for where you are today. Rather, it is about understanding that your past experiences have shaped you, and until you address them with intention, they will continue to influence you in ways you may not even realize. So many people live their lives in denial, telling themselves that they are fine, that they don't need to look back, that what happened is done, and there's no point in thinking about it. Yet this avoidance only strengthens the grip the past has on them. When pain is ignored or suppressed, it does not disappear, it simply gets buried, waiting for the right moment to resurface, whether through sudden emotional outbursts, deep-seated insecurities, or self-destructive behaviors that seem to come out of nowhere. The problem is, as long as you refuse to acknowledge the weight you're carrying, you will continue to struggle under it, unable to move forward with the freedom and lightness you deserve. Healing begins with awareness, with the decision to stop running from your past and instead face it head-on, not as a means of reliving old pain, but as a way to finally understand and release it. It requires courage to sit with your emotions, to recognize where your wounds originated, and to accept that they have been shaping your actions, relationships, and self-perception in ways you may not have fully recognized before. This awareness is the first step toward transformation. Without it, you remain stuck in a cycle of unconscious reactions, repeating the same patterns over and over again without truly understanding why. There is immense power in acknowledging what you've been through, not as a way of defining yourself by your pain, but as a means of reclaiming control over your life. When you allow yourself to see with complete honesty how your past has influenced your present, you open the door to healing, growth, and change. You begin to see that you are not simply a product of what has happened to you, but rather you are someone who has the ability to choose how you move forward, how you redefine your story, and how you finally let go of the weight that has been holding you down for far too long. Every experience we go through, especially the painful ones, leaves a mark on us. Sometimes that mark is subtle, like a whisper in the back of our minds, influencing how we see the world. Other times it's loud and obvious, shaping our thoughts, emotions, and actions in ways we can't ignore. Emotional wounds are not just memories of difficult experiences. They are deeply ingrained responses that affect the way we interact with life, often without us even realizing it. The impact of these wounds extends far beyond the original event, seeping into our relationships, self-worth, and overall ability to trust, love, and take risks. When someone experiences betrayal, for example, the immediate pain may feel unbearable, but what lingers is often a long-term fear of trusting others. Even after the initial hurt fades, the mind and body hold on to the memory, creating protective mechanisms to prevent similar pain in the future. This might manifest as emotional walls, hesitation in relationships, or a habit of assuming the worst in people even when there's no real danger. These defense mechanisms feel necessary in the moment because they give a sense of control, but over time, they can become barriers that keep a person from fully experiencing life. Instead of preventing pain, they create isolation, loneliness, and missed opportunities for genuine connection. Similarly, someone who has faced constant rejection, whether in childhood, relationships, or career, may develop a deeply rooted belief that they are not good enough. Even if circumstances change and they find themselves in a healthier environment surrounded by supportive people, that old wound can still dictate their actions. They may second-guess their worth, sabotage their own success, or struggle to accept love and appreciation from others because deep down, they have been conditioned to expect rejection. The past lingers, shaping their self-perception and influencing their choices, often reinforcing the very fears they are trying to escape. One of the most challenging aspects of emotional wounds is that they do not just affect the person carrying them, they also shape the way they interact with others. Hurt people often unintentionally hurt people. Someone who has been abandoned may become overly clingy or conversely, push people away before they can leave. A person who has experienced criticism throughout their life may become defensive, reacting strongly to even the mildest feedback. Emotional wounds create patterns of fear, avoidance, anger, and even self-destruction that can continue for years, impacting not only the individual, but also those around them. Beyond relationships, emotional wounds also shape a person's overall mindset and worldview. They can make someone feel like the world is unsafe, that people cannot be trusted, or that happiness is something always just out of reach. These beliefs, even if formed as a response to a specific event, can become the lens through which a person views their entire life. If left unaddressed, these wounds can hold a person back from embracing new opportunities, chasing dreams, or even believing that they deserve happiness in the first place. The past becomes a silent but powerful force, dictating what feels possible and keeping someone trapped in cycles of fear and doubt. What makes emotional wounds so difficult to deal with is that they often operate beneath the surface. Many people are unaware of the extent to which their past experiences influence their present reality. They assume their reactions are just who they are, rather than a learned response to pain. It takes deep self-reflection and a willingness to examine past experiences honestly to uncover these hidden wounds. But once they are acknowledged, healing becomes possible. The mind and heart are incredibly resilient, and while pain may have shaped a person, it does not have to define them forever. Understanding the impact of emotional wounds is not about blaming the past or feeling hopeless about change. It is about recognizing where certain fears, doubts, and behaviors originate so that they can be addressed. When people begin to see how their past has influenced them, they also gain the power to rewrite their story. They can choose to heal, to let go, and to create new patterns that serve them rather than hold them back. The wounds may never fully disappear, but they no longer have to control the narrative. Healing is not about erasing pain, but about learning to live beyond it, step by step, with awareness, compassion, and the determination to move forward. Healing doesn't happen by accident. It's not something that just unfolds over time or resolves itself because years have passed. Healing is a choice, a conscious, deliberate decision to acknowledge the past, confront the pain, and take control of what happens next. The reality is, many people carry their wounds for years, believing that as long as they don't think about them, they'll fade away. But the truth is, unaddressed pain doesn't disappear. It lingers beneath the surface, shaping beliefs, behaviors, and relationships in ways that often go unnoticed. The decision to heal is what separates those who remain stuck in cycles of pain from those who find freedom from it. Choosing to heal means choosing to face discomfort. It means acknowledging that the past has left scars and that those scars influence the way you think, feel, and react. It requires the courage to sit with emotions you may have spent years avoiding: grief, anger, resentment, or even shame. For many, the idea of revisiting these emotions feels overwhelming, which is why they push them aside, hoping they will dissolve over time. But suppressed emotions don't go away. They manifest in other ways: anxiety, self-doubt, patterns of self-sabotage, or even physical symptoms like chronic stress and fatigue. Healing starts when you decide to stop running from these feelings and instead face them with the intention of understanding and releasing them. One of the hardest parts of choosing to heal is recognizing that pain may have become part of your identity. When someone has carried emotional wounds for a long time, they may start to believe that their struggles define them. Thoughts like, "I'm just a broken person, this is who I am," or "I'll always feel this way," create a false sense of permanence. But healing challenges these beliefs. It forces you to step outside of the story you've been telling yourself and realize that pain is something you experienced, not something you are. Making the choice to heal means reclaiming control over your own narrative and recognizing that you are more than your past. Another aspect of this choice is letting go of the idea that healing requires an apology, closure, or validation from others. Many people hold on to pain because they feel like they can't move forward until the person who hurt them acknowledges the damage they caused. They wait for an apology that may never come or seek closure from situations that will never be resolved. But choosing to heal means accepting that you don't need anyone else's permission to move on. It's about realizing that your healing is your responsibility, and waiting for someone else to fix the pain they caused only gives them continued control over your emotional well-being. Healing is also about action. It's not just about recognizing the pain, but also making intentional choices that support emotional growth. This might mean setting boundaries with people who trigger old wounds, seeking professional help through therapy, journaling to process emotions, or surrounding yourself with people who uplift and support your journey. Healing is an ongoing process, not a single decision made in one moment, but it starts with that first step, the decision to no longer let the past dictate the future. There will be resistance. The mind and body get used to pain, and sometimes, even though it's harmful, it feels familiar. The idea of stepping into the unknown, living without resentment, fear, or self-doubt can feel unsettling. But the discomfort of healing is temporary, whereas the pain of staying stuck is lifelong. Growth happens in that space where you choose to lean into discomfort rather than avoid it. Healing is not about erasing the past, but about learning to live beyond it. It's about taking control, rewriting your story, and allowing yourself to experience joy, trust, and peace again. Ultimately, healing is a choice that only you can make. No one can do it for you, and nothing external will magically make it happen. It starts the moment you decide that you are ready to move forward, even if you don't have all the answers yet. The past may have shaped you, but it does not have to define you. Healing is possible, and it begins with the simple but powerful decision to take that first step. The way you interpret your past shapes your entire life. Every experience you've had, good or bad, has contributed to the story you tell yourself about who you are, what you deserve, and what you're capable of. But what if that story isn't the truth? What if the way you framed your past is actually holding you back? Reframing your story is one of the most powerful things you can do in the healing process because it allows you to take control of your narrative instead of letting past pain define you. Most people don't realize that they are constantly interpreting their experiences through a certain lens, one that was shaped by childhood, past trauma, or repeated experiences of rejection, failure, or disappointment. If someone grows up believing that they are unworthy of love because they were ignored or mistreated, that belief follows them into adulthood, influencing the way they interact in relationships. If someone experiences failure early on and labels themselves as not good enough, they may never take the risks necessary to reach their full potential. The story you tell yourself becomes your reality, not because it's true, but because you believe it to be true. Reframing your story doesn't mean denying or minimizing the pain of the past. It's not about pretending that everything happened for a reason or forcing yourself to feel grateful for experiences that genuinely hurt you. Instead, it's about shifting your perspective from one of victimhood to one of empowerment. It means looking at your past not as something that broke you, but as something that shaped you, something you can learn from, grow through, and ultimately rise above. The events themselves don't change, but the meaning you assign to them does, and that changes everything. One of the biggest shifts in perspective happens when you recognize that your past does not define you. Your response to it does. You may not have had control over what happened to you, but you have full control over how you move forward. This shift is powerful because it puts the focus on what you can change rather than what you can't. If you keep telling yourself that your past ruined you, that belief keeps you stuck. But if you start seeing yourself as someone who has overcome difficult experiences, who is learning, evolving, and finding strength through the process, you give yourself the opportunity to heal. A big part of reframing your story involves identifying and challenging the limiting beliefs you've developed because of past experiences. For example, if you were told as a child that you were difficult, unlovable, or not good enough, you may have carried those beliefs into adulthood without even realizing it, but just because someone said it, or because you felt it at some point, does not mean it was ever true. Often, people adopt the perspectives of those who hurt them and continue to carry those narratives long after the original situation is over. Part of healing is recognizing that just because something felt real at the time doesn't mean it has to define you now. Another important aspect of reframing is shifting your focus from what you lost to what you gained. Every painful experience leaves behind something valuable, whether it's resilience, wisdom, or a deeper understanding of yourself. That doesn't mean you have to be grateful for the pain itself, but it does mean that you can acknowledge your growth because of it. Maybe a past betrayal taught you the importance of trusting yourself. Maybe a difficult childhood forced you to develop strength and independence. Maybe heartbreak led you to a level of self-love you never would have discovered otherwise. When you start looking at your experiences through the lens of growth rather than just loss, you start reclaiming your power. Reframing your story also means giving yourself permission to let go of shame. Many people hold on to guilt or self-blame for things that were never their fault. They replay moments over and over, wondering what they could have done differently, convinced that they were somehow responsible for their pain. But healing requires self-compassion. It requires recognizing that you did the best you could with what you knew at the time, and that you are not obligated to carry shame for things that were out of your control. The beautiful thing about reframing your story is that it allows you to write a new chapter. You are not doomed to repeat the past. You are not stuck in old patterns forever. The way you view your life can change, and when it does, so does the way you experience the present and approach the future. When you take control of your story, you take control of your life. The past no longer has to be a weight holding you down. It can become the foundation that makes you stronger, wiser, and more resilient than ever before. Letting go of pain is one of the hardest things a person can do, not because they want to hold on to it, but because it becomes deeply ingrained in their identity. Pain can feel familiar, even comfortable, especially when it has been a part of someone's life for years. Many people don't realize how much their pain has shaped them until they are faced with the challenge of releasing it. The idea of letting go might feel like giving up, like dismissing what happened, or like losing a part of themselves. But in reality, letting go is not about forgetting. It's about freeing yourself from the grip of the past so you can finally live in the present. One of the biggest obstacles to releasing pain is the subconscious belief that holding on to it gives you control. When someone has been hurt deeply, they may think that by remembering it, by replaying it in their mind, they are protecting themselves from ever experiencing that kind of pain again. They hold on to resentment because it feels like a form of justice. They refuse to forgive because they believe it means excusing what happened. But the truth is, holding on to pain does not protect you, it only continues to harm you. The people or situations that caused you pain are no longer present, yet the pain still dictates your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. In this way, the past continues to control you, not because of what happened, but because of the power you are still giving it. Releasing pain begins with a conscious decision to no longer let it define you. It means recognizing that your pain is not your identity, and you do not have to carry it forever. This is not about denying your emotions or pretending that what happened didn't hurt. It is about allowing yourself to acknowledge the pain fully, feel it, and then choose to move beyond it. Healing does not happen by avoiding emotions. It happens by facing them, understanding them, and then making the decision to release their hold on you. One of the most effective ways to release pain is through forgiveness, not for the sake of the person who hurt you, but for your own peace of mind. Forgiveness is often misunderstood as letting someone off the hook or pretending that what they did was okay, but true forgiveness has nothing to do with the other person. It is about freeing yourself. When you forgive, You are not saying that what happened was acceptable. You are saying that you refuse to let it control your life any longer. You are choosing your own well-being over the weight of resentment. You are giving yourself permission to move forward. Another essential part of letting go is changing the way you talk to yourself about your pain. Many people hold on to suffering because they have internalized a narrative that reinforces their wounds. They tell themselves, "I will never heal from this. I will always feel this way," or "this pain is a part of who I am." But these are just thoughts, not truths. When you begin to shift the way you speak to yourself, you begin to shift the way you feel. Instead of reinforcing pain, you can start telling yourself, "I am allowed to heal, I deserve peace, and I am not my past." Over time, these new narratives create a foundation for true healing. Letting go of pain also requires action. It's not just a mental or emotional shift. It is something that must be actively practiced in daily life. This can mean setting boundaries with people who trigger old wounds, engaging in practices that promote emotional release like journaling, therapy, or meditation, or even making physical changes in your environment to create a fresh start. Every action taken in the direction of healing reinforces the decision to let go. The hardest parts of releasing pain is accepting that healing is not linear. There will be days when the past feels distant, and then there will be moments when it resurfaces unexpectedly. This does not mean that you are failing or that you will never heal. It simply means that healing is a process. The key is to keep choosing to let go, again and again, until it becomes your new normal. Releasing pain is about reclaiming your life. It is about choosing peace over suffering, freedom over resentment, and healing over being stuck. The past may have shaped you, but it does not have to define your future. The choice to let go is one of the most powerful things you can do for yourself, and once you make that choice, you open yourself up to a life that is no longer controlled by what hurts you, but instead guided by what makes you whole. Moving forward after emotional wounds is not just about letting go of the past, it's about stepping into the future with intention. Many people believe that once they have processed their pain and released their suffering, the healing journey is over. But healing is not just about what you leave behind, it's about what you move toward. It's about rebuilding your sense of self, redefining your goals, and consciously choosing the kind of life you want to live. One of the biggest challenges in moving forward is learning to trust life again. Pain, especially when it comes from betrayal, failure, or loss, can make the world feel unsafe. It can create the fear that something bad is always around the corner or that happiness is fleeting. This kind of thinking makes it hard to take risks, open up to people, or fully embrace new opportunities. But living in fear of what might go wrong is just another way of letting past wounds control your present. Moving forward requires stepping out of that mindset and allowing yourself to believe in the possibility of good things again. A crucial part of moving forward is redefining your identity beyond the pain you experienced. When someone has lived with emotional wounds for a long time, those wounds can start to feel like a core part of who they are. They may see themselves as the person who was abandoned, the person who was betrayed, or the person who always struggles, but those are just chapters in a much larger story. Moving forward means actively choosing new ways to define yourself, ones that reflect your growth, resilience, and potential. Instead of identifying with the struggle, you can start identifying with the strength it took to overcome it. Taking steps toward a new future also means setting new goals, even if they feel small at first. Pain has a way of narrowing a person's world, making them feel stuck or hesitant to dream big. But healing is about expansion, about rediscovering what excites you, what inspires you, and what makes you feel alive. This could mean pursuing a passion that was put on hold, deepening connections with people who uplift you, or even making changes to your routine that support your emotional well-being. Every small step forward is a reminder that you are not defined by where you have been, but by where you are going. Another powerful way to move forward is by surrounding yourself with people who reflect the kind of life you want to create. Healing does not happen in isolation. The people you spend time with influence your thoughts, emotions, and sense of self. If you are constantly around those who reinforce negative patterns, it will be much harder to break free from them. But when you surround yourself with individuals who encourage your growth, who support your healing, and who challenge you to see your worth, moving forward becomes a natural process. The right people remind you of who you are beyond your wounds and help you step into a brighter future. One of the most important aspects of moving forward is learning to embrace joy without guilt. After experiencing deep pain, happiness can feel foreign, even undeserved. Some people feel guilty for moving on, as if healing means they are betraying their past or invalidating their suffering. But pain and joy can coexist. You can honor what you went through while still allowing yourself to be happy. You deserve laughter, love, excitement, and peace, not in spite of what you've been through, but because you have survived it. Moving forward is about giving yourself permission to embrace life again, fully and without hesitation. Finally, moving forward means accepting that healing is an ongoing process. There will still be moments when old wounds resurface, when doubt creeps in, or when fear tries to pull you backward. But every time you choose to keep going, every time you remind yourself that you are not your past, you strengthen the foundation of the life you are building. Healing is not about reaching a perfect state where